So this is Diesel We the People News. This is a continuing part, which I thought would maybe kind of interesting. Once again, I'm not an attorney, don't claim to be an attorney, nor want to be an attorney. I don't want to dumb myself down. I want to get smarter and wiser. Alrighty, so this is a learning video of history. Okay, so just take it as that. Feeling a little tired, so because my grandbaby stays up wee hours of days and nights and all that, and instead of sleeping, I'm in here making a couple of videos. Because again, come in the morning, I'm gonna be busy, and he gets up about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's almost 2 now. But anyway, I figured, well, since I'm up, I'll do this other part of the deal. This is KrisAnne Hall, so look her up. Alrighty, she's really good at what she does. There's some points that she misses, but obviously she's gonna miss some things because, you know, her show is usually an hour long and things like that, right? So you can't just go into a deep discussion about certain things, right? I would really like to get with her and see what she found out about the treaty of the Paris Treaty between us and King George, right? So I'm not going to go in great detail about the treaty. It's just, it is what it is, and unless I misunderstood it, you know, this is when we really actually become the true United States, but they still kept United States of America title. Your guess is as good as mine. Why? I don't know.
I can't remember who it was that came up in the chat room, said that Mark Dice did a video and asked people what happened on January 6th. And most of the people that Mark Dice interviewed said they had no idea. And so that's why, you know, when JC and I talk about these things, we always preface it with the people who watch and believe the narrative, right? Sure. So if you're enjoying, share, like, subscribe, and get the truth out there to more people.
So now that we've destroyed the nonsensical parallel that they try to tie between January 6th and
right.
August 24th, 1814, how about this assertion that January 6th was the most violent since that time? They make it sound like nothing has happened against the Capitol since
or the people in the Capitol.
Since 1814.
Or the people in the Capitol.
Right.
Right.
So in this article, KrisAnneHall.com, you can find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 instances, historical instances of very violent attacks against the Capitol.
And not only that, since the article's been published, I found a couple more, JC, that are not just simply violent attacks against the Capitol, but violent attacks against members of Congress.
Yep.
You want to know who committed those violent attacks on the members of Congress? Members of Congress.
Right.
So
right.
In 1856, this is what I've got here on my little note paper here. In 1856, Senator Preston Smith Brooks attacked Senator Charles Sumner on the Senate floor with a cane, beating him nearly unconscious because Congress had outlawed the congressional dueling the year before. Mm-hmm. So he said the only reason he attacked him with the cane was because he couldn't have a duel with him. Right?
Why'd you hit him with a cane?
No,
because I couldn't shoot him.
Didn't just hit him with the cane, beat him nearly unconscious on the Senate floor. 1850. Now, according to a historian named Joanne Freeman, who wrote a book about violence in Congress, caning was not an uncommon occurrence in Congress.
Yep.
We're talking about members of Congress getting mad and beating each other with canes, right? So, before January 6th.
Because you could no longer duel.
Because you could no longer duel. Listen to this. In 1850, a fist fight between 30 members of Congress on the House floor at 2 a.m. occurs when one congressman grabbed another congressman by the throat, and you've got like one of those. Can you picture like Major League Baseball, right?
Yeah.
So one congressman
Dugout's empty.
grabs another congressman by the throat, and then you got a fist fight, like a barroom brawl happening on the House floor, right?
Ah, the good old days.
Seriously.
Okay, so I want to butt into this right here. Congress cannot make anything illegal if there is a contract, verbal or written out. So Congress made an agreement that there can be no duels. If two people agree, verbal or have it written out, they can, because that is a contract, and a contract exceeds all other laws. And Congress cannot go in there and interrupt a contract. If me and somebody else goes out into the street, let's say my neighbor, and says, well, I guess we need to put up our dukes in and settle this matter, right? Well, as long as he agrees to it, me and him cannot go to jail because it is a verbal contract. Now, regardless what you guys think, that we will actually go to jail, that's because most people are ignorant of the law. Alright? That is a contract between me and my neighbor to settle the matter with our fist outside in the street. Or in our backyards or whatever. Now, if I call him out and he denies it and I hit him anyway, now I inflicted harm upon him, and I rightfully and lawfully should go to jail and be able to pay him some damages, right? Like a doctor's bill, hospital bill, and all that. Okay? So, once again, law cannot interfere in the contract. And this is the reason why people back in, like UFC got started, right? And there was different weights and different this and different that and this out here and there. There is reasons for that. I understand that. Okay? 110-pound guy shouldn't be fighting and setting up any contract of a 230-pound guy, right? And but that is a business part, right? So that would be more into sports. But they have a third party in there, which is pretty much contradictory just to plain out one-on-one contract, right? So if my neighbor was 240 pounds and I weigh 150 pounds, but I initiated it, well, he's got every right to whip my butt, or vice versa, right? Because I initiated the contract. Okay? But if he initiated it and accepted it, I still accepted it. And law cannot interfere in that contract. And you can say, but all this and but all that. But that's just the way it's supposed to be done, y'all.
honestly, I've often thought that we needed to have a return of those days, because then at least we know they were passionate about something, right? They actually believed in something.
Now-
It was something that they took personally.
Now fast forward to what's his
Wait,
name
hold on,
from
let's-
Ohio passing out checks
Yeah.
from
Oh,
lobbyists
yeah.
on the floor. What was that guy?
John Boehner.
Boehner
Yeah.
passing out checks from the tobacco industry during the suit against the tobacco industry.
So historian Freeman, in her book Violence in Congress, says that there were more than 70, catch this now, her language, more than 70 violent occurrences in Congress in session in the
I had to stop that. I forgot about that. He's passing out checks from the tobacco company, alright? Now, we're going to go with this one more time, y'all. There should not be any outside influences with big money to do anything with any type of law of Congress or even within states. And if I decide to pick up the cigarette and smoke it, that's on me. Right? As long as it's not committing harm upon anybody else. But they want to make the sellers the criminal. And the buyers not. Well, you can't say that anymore. But anyway, it's between me and the seller whether I'm gonna do or don't do. But having outside influences and passing checks around, that's not okay. And yet they still do it all the time. Just ask all the big businesses that do it every day, y'all. And you wonder why we're in the situation we're in now. No constitutional rights.
19th century. So on January 6th, no congressman was hurt, assaulted, caned, or even
Almost.
punched in the face.
Almost.
She wasn't even in building.
She came close.
So how
To
can
being
you call it the
sexually
most
assaulted.
violent attack on the Capitol when for for 50 years there were over 70 violent occurrences happening at the hands of members of Congress, literally at the hands of members of Congress on members of Congress.
Yep. And then there's this.
5 members of Congress.
And then there's this. Where am I?
Yeah.
Right there. 1954 shooting in the House chamber.
Yeah.
So, 3 men and 1 woman who were activists for an independent Puerto Rico shot 5 congressmen
The Puerto Rican
in the House of
Nationalist
Representatives.
Party.
So did you catch that? Because remember, we're supposed to believe that what we saw on January 6th. I just lost myself there. We're supposed to believe
Excuse me, I lost myself for a moment.
violent. So you literally have 5 congressmen shot by 4 Puerto Rican independence activists.
Puerto Rican
1954,
Nationalist
March
Party
1st,
members.
1954. Oh, but wait.
They entered the gallery armed with handguns.
In the
and at-
gallery.
In the gallery, 2:30 p.m., they indiscriminately opened fire onto the House floor and unfurled a Puerto Rican flag in a violent act of protest meant to draw attention to their demand for Puerto Rico's immediate independence. Haven't things changed now? We've been able to occupy Puerto Rico for so long now, they actually believe they can't be independent.
There you go. And then
5 congressmen wounded,
here's a
just so you get the numbers.
fame.
And by the way, that is a territory. And I had to be honest. They want to be part of the United States. Alright. And let's go with the Democrat-Republican thing, right? If you really believe in the voting thing, then that would really set for the Democrats to be always winning. So I'm surprised the Democrats are not putting this in there. If the voting was actually true. Okay? But, that being said, since we are, wink wink, we are still in martial law, then that means all of this is territory. And they cannot have them be another state when no states exist. Right? Then they would actually have more rights than the rest of us do. Probably a little deep for you guys to understand. Because, well, I don't think most of y'all really truly studied the history. And I don't know everything. This is just what my overstanding is of the history, okay? I may got it wrong. So, but, that being said, who could really challenge it? Right? Not, the ones who could challenge it is the ones that really actually independently studied the history.
This
Yeah.
name, everyone may know, hopefully you know, the Weather Underground.
Hey, wait
The
a minute.
Weather
That's familiar.
Underground.
Isn't that the group that Barack Obama's friend Bill Ayers was in?
Say it ain't so, Chris Ann.
Barack Obama's friend Bill Ayers,
His mentor. The one
His
that launched
mentor.
him, the one that sponsored him.
in the
To
Senate race.
Enter into politics.
Didn't he actually get invitations to the White House by Barack Obama?
Yeah, I'm not sure. So March 1st, again, March 1st, 1971, the Weather Underground bombed the House of Representatives. Now, they were involved in more bombings. They also bombed the Pentagon.
Yes.
And they bombed. What else did they bomb? They bombed a couple other places. The Capitol, I think
California.
House of Representatives. Yes, they bombed a military induction station in Oakland.
In Oakland. Mm-hmm.
So, but that House of
Oh, there
Representatives.
he
So we're
is.
talking about the Capitol.
William Charles
There he is.
Ayers. Bill Ayers. Barack Obama's homie boy.
That's right. So since we're talking about the Capitol, so they bombed the House of Representatives. They also bombed the Pentagon.
It was actually in the basement, so the it was shielded, wasn't it?
It was in a restroom
Yeah.
in the house, and I think I remember hearing them talk about the fact that there were 3-foot thick concrete walls.
Which was the only thing that really saved the building.
Yeah. And of course, the Weather Underground, Bill Ayers, Weather Underground pardoned. Bill Ayers pardoned. Is actually
Not only pardoned,
involved
invited to the White House.
in government.
Ate dinner in the White House.
Prominent.
But got pardoned, and one lady died over, was it July 6th or June 6th? And she died for entering a window or trying to enter a window. Which, by the way, we still don't know who the officer is that shot her, killed her. And yet they found him innocent, and we still do not know who he is.
Well respected.
Probably got a private tour of the Capitol building that he once tried to blow up.
Yes.
Yeah, so scroll that up, JC. It was behind a false wall in the back of the toilet stalls.
Restroom of the U.S. Senate.
Yeah. Whoever did it, Captain Ballard of the Capitol Police said, was a professional. It went off almost to the minute they said it would.
Yep. Interesting. And so they made.
Yeah, so here they go. Bombs in the U.S. State Department, the Pentagon, dozens of other sites across the United States in protest of the war activity during Vietnam and Laos, and hoping to spark a revolutionary upsurge is what they're.
Well, what was interesting is how they would call and claim it and say we're doing this in the name of, and it was always some communist leader. Ho Chi Minh's birthday was one of them, and
Yeah.
so they were openly declared Marxist communist, and so.
But what year was that, JC?
1971.
So we're
was,
definitely
was the
between
Capitol bombing.
1812
Yep.
and January 6th still.
And bombs are pretty violent.
Yeah, well, I mean,
no
you
bombs went
saw
off.
the damage.
No bombs went off January 6th. Now they say they found some pipe bombs outside. I think in front of the Capitol. And there were pipe bombs in front of. And this is the thing that they don't talk about often. There were pipe bombs in front of the DNC headquarters January 6th and the RNC headquarters. Now, again, I've written an article on chrisanhall.com, Anarchist Violence. You can find it there. The Revolutionary Anarchist Movement, not the anarchist movement as a whole, but the segment of the anarchist movement called the Revolutionary Anarchist Movement
Right.
are about the destruction of every instance of state apparatus, and they believe in political violence. And so that's obviously not a Trump thing. Or a conservative or a Republican or whatever. So if that was legit, then you're talking about attack on both Democrat and the Republican headquarters. January
Well, then,
6th.
because that was the Weather Underground. Now we have November 7th, 1983,
The Armed Resistance Unit.
bombed. Did you say that? Bombed?
Yes.
Bombed the second floor of the Senate wing of the Capitol.
This one is particularly interesting and one they don't want to talk about. You can see the headline here, and guess why?
First female terrorist group.
Terrorist group.
See, but you know what's amazing to me, JC? These terrorist groups are not Republicans. I mean, I don't play the whole party game thing, but these people are not Republicans.
They're all leftists.
They're all leftists.
Yes.
They're all radical and socialists,
Yep.
Marxists. So at 10:58, a blast went off on the second floor
Oh, sorry.
of the structure's north wing. The explosion blew doors off their hinges, shattered chandeliers, and sent a shower of pulverized glass, brick, and plaster into the Republican cloakroom. The shockwave from the explosion sounded like a sonic boom. A jogger outside on the Capitol grounds heard the blast and said, "It was loud enough to make my ears hurt. It kept echoing and echoing, boom, boom. Cost $1 million in damage."
Yep. This is an article from Politico here. The ARU was the nom de guerre
Armed Resistance Unit.
for the May 19th Communist Organization, a
Oh,
group
look
of
at that.
self-described revolutionary anti-imperialists formed in the late 1970s to support armed struggles in southern Africa, the Middle East, Central America, Puerto Rico, and inside the American mainland.
Although several hundred people were a part of the May 19th front groups, the group's inner circle contained fewer than a dozen people who were women.
Yeah.
So that was 1983.
1983. and they're
That's between 1918,
It is.
12
So
and
obviously-
17 and June 6th.
Yes, and come to your own conclusions, I guess. But the most violent, January 6th was the most violent in comparison to these, and there are more. March, we didn't mention March 11th, 1890. You talked about a couple of the duels and attacks by amongst the congressmen
Congressmen
themselves.
were more violent on each other than what happened in January 6th.
But March 11th, 1890, Congressman William Talby was shot on the Capitol steps July 2nd, 1915, Eric Munter attacked the Senate building with dynamite. And then July 24th, 1998, this is a more recent one, Russell Eugene Weston Jr. killed 2 police officers inside the Capitol building. So, I mean...
So there's scant evidence, but there's 2 things we gotta sort of deal with in this not so real news. There's scant evidence of a coordinated attack, but you can say there is lots of evidence of a coordinated attack for these other things. I mean, you actually have groups of people who are absolutely taking credit for this. I mean, the Weather Underground sent a released statement, we are responsible for that bombing, right? So how can you even equate January 6th, how can you even say the things the media is saying about January 6th in exclusion of all these other things that were more violent and more coordinated? And you know what caught me, JC, when we were going through this study, right? When the Weather Underground planted their bomb and it went off in the Capitol building, the Capitol Police immediately came out and said, we are going to do what we can to secure the building and open up the Capitol as soon as possible. There wasn't this mad rush like today to shut everything down and destroy everybody's rights. It was, hey, this is the people's building. The people will have access to this building as soon as possible. It's our job to make sure that people's safe. And it's not our job to shut down the building so we don't have to do our job and the people don't have access to the building. So it was a very different narrative when all this went down, because there was a recognition of the rights of the people to remain intact, instead of today where the immediate narrative is we have to shut down, we have to right away, we have to overstep and destroy your rights in order to be safe.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that.
Okay, we're going to stop it right there because the video is so long. Yeah. Alright, so they're shutting it down so we, the people, cannot enter our buildings. And back then, they're trying to hurry up and get things done so we, the people, can enter our buildings. Then and now. Alright, this is Diesel We the People News. Take it as you wish. Till next time, y'all. Bye.